Alrighty, using f of x equals tangent of x as a guide, graph g of x equals 2 times the tangent of 4x. Identify the period, x-intercepts, and asymptotes. So let's start off by finding those three things, the period, the x-intercepts, and the asymptotes. So the period is, sorry, let me get this right, there you go. The period, we use the equation pi over b, or the absolute value of b. In this case, b is 4, so we get pi over 4. So that means every pi over 4, it's going to repeat itself. For the x-intercepts, the formula that we use for that is pi n, so x equals pi n over the absolute value of b. So when we plug in what we know what b is, so we got pi times n over 4. This means that every pi over 4, or every multiple of pi over 4, you're going to have an x-intercept. So, for example, we're going to have an x-intercept at pi over 4. We're also going to have one at 2 pi over 4, or pi over 2. It's really, on this graph, we're just going to have one every tick mark. And that goes in the opposite direction as well. So that means we're going to have one at 0, because that's pi over 4 to the left from our original one. So it's going to have a tick mark everywhere we have, or it's going to have a dot everywhere we have a tick mark. And then for the asymptotes, the equation we use for that is x equals pi over 2b plus pi n over the absolute value of b. Again, plugging in what we know b is 4, so our first one, pi over 2b, is pi over 2 times 4, or pi over 8, plus pi n over 4. Now this means we're going to kind of quote-unquote start at pi over 8 and then shift over every pi over 4. Now I'm going to draw my asymptotes in a light yellow here. I'm going to see if I can get this a little thinner than I used to have it. So we're going to draw an asymptote. Really, once you have your x-intercepts, your asymptotes are going to be halfway between your x-intercepts. So I'm going to go halfway between these two dots, halfway between these two. And just keep on repeating that. So again, halfway between your x-intercepts are going to be all your asymptotes. So if you find asymptotes first, all of your x-intercepts are going to be halfway between those. If you find your x-intercepts first, your asymptotes are going to be halfway between the x-intercepts. So once you find one, the other gets a little easier. Now we got to graph the rest of it. Tangent graphs are the ones that kind of look like a little bit cubic, but then they go up and they go up and to the right. So I'm going to draw one that goes. Oops, sorry, got to switch my pen mode. So since these are really skinny, try to make it so that you can see the curve, and obviously do your best not to have it touch the asymptotes. Now mine's obviously not that great, but it's because I don't have the most steady of hands. But you gotta make sure you have at least the general shape and show that you have the idea that they're not supposed to touch the asymptotes. That one's a little too quick. So it's supposed to kind of curve through that x-intercept. Forgot an arrow there. Again, just repeating this pattern on all those x-intercepts in between all those asymptotes. Oops, that was a little lazy. No, one more time. So again, find all your x-intercepts, find your asymptotes, and then once you have that, you got a good idea for the general shape. Hopefully your graphs look a little cleaner than mine, but mine's good enough.